Alright, what's going on, guys? So I'm gonna be posting, this is gonna be Wars 1 and 2 of Season 32, and normally if I get behind I just won't upload videos for the season, but now that I'm assigning fights, I want to be able to have my videos archived, because sometimes people ask to see fights that I've taken, and I delete all my videos after the season, so I'm just going to go ahead and upload these, and completely understandable if nobody watches them because they're pretty outdated at this point. But especially with this global, I just wanted to show, people who want to use Omega for fights, especially in my alliance, what the right tactic is for using him for fights. So, this is Path 5 in Section 1. This is our first war. It's against the Universal Stars. And I've taken this fight quite a bit before. Right there I messed up, but not a huge deal. So I did lose quite a few of my spores there. You're supposed to wait for Nick Fury to finish his heavy animation like that before you knock him down on heavy hitter. So here I'm pretty much not gonna touch him again. Until I have a clear opening, and there he goes down, super easy, so not a big deal there. Magneto can do that fight really easily as well with the Sabretooth synergy, and this fight is going to be a Quake fight. I don't think people caught on to banning her as aggressively in the first few wars of the season, because last season, with the High Ground Global, the High Ground Global kind of banned Quake for you. A lot of the fights that you want to use Quake for were high ground fights, so you couldn't use her anyway. So usually I double speed these. I'm actually going to 4 times speed all my Quake fights for this video, because it's just a Quake fight. So here he's about to go down, about 1 minute, super easy. And then the next fight I'm going to be taking here is going to be Jabari Panther. On node 23, this is Mix Master and Power Focus 1 and Aggression Prowess. So this fight is not too bad. Against Jabari, I do usually like to have a guidance placed, if at all possible. But here, I don't think that I timed any of my parries correctly, so I'm not even sure that I end up using the guidance. Oh, there we go, there's one. But it caught me off guard, so I actually didn't end up using it even. So what I should be doing here is locking in my degen, but I am not. And the fight's over anyway, it's about 30 seconds. So she just doesn't have enough health to be a super viable defender on most nodes. Okay, so next fight here, this is going to be Long Shot on Buffet. I remember a few seasons back, Taters assigned me this fight with Omega Red, and I thought he was mad at me or something, because I was just no, Omega can't do this fight. But Omega can do pretty much anything, so I'm just not going to dex any of his specials. Now that he's at a special 1, I'm going to hit him as little as humanly possible. And there we go, it's about 20-25 seconds. So not too bad at all. Putting dexterity back on. And I think I have 2 more fights this war. So this is going to be Annihilus. This is actually a new node. I think that this is one of the trickier nodes now on Mini Island. But, again, Quake bypasses this. So I'm just going to go ahead and fast forward this fight as well. This is actually good placement for Annihilus also, as long as Quake is banned. So we have used Doom for this fight. We have also used Magneto for this fight. We've used Horseman Archangel for this fight. And I believe we've used Sorcerer for this fight too. Possibly Hercules. It's really not It's not too bad. There's like a lot of counters for it, but it can just get really dicey, especially without a guidance pre-fight. So, okay, next fight. This is gonna be the last fight. I think I'm just like kind of screwing around, waiting 10 seconds for my energy here. And yeah, so this is gonna be a Killmonger. This node has Conflictor and basically like prowess puncture. Like if you repeat the same basic attack twice, he's going to get like a block proficiency or a block penetration charge. So I'm basically going to play this like mix master, like medium light, just counter his heavy with my heavy if I were being smart here. There we go, finally did it. And Omega just bypasses the conflictor aspect of this when he has his spores. So right here, standing open, he didn't want to throw his special. I feel like I'm going to end up taking a heavy attack here, yep. But it's okay, he's going to die anyway, so not a huge deal. And that is it for that first war. We did end up winning that war pretty comfortably. So yeah, probably should have cut this part out. Just cheering on Mad Cat. Mad Cat had such a good season last season. I think every season that I've been in for Loki with him, he's had a really good season. So last season was no exception. And then the second war of the season here for Loki is facing Gods of War. And these guys are, looks like they were in Platinum 1 last season. I feel like our first few wars of the season were against alliances who started out in Platinum 1 and then like ended up in Masters. And we actually finished in Platinum 1 last season too, so it's not a huge surprise there. But anyway, they also didn't ban Quake. So here we are just going to Quake this Nimrod. I think that this would be pretty good placement, maybe. I don't know, I feel like Nimrod is a little bit stronger on other nodes, but this was like one of the first couple wars of the season, so people were experimenting a little bit. But he goes down, and I finished at 100%. I finished that Quake fight at 100%. This next fight here, I'm going to use Quake for it, and I'm actually not speeding up the entire fight, because this was one of the scariest fights I've ever had in Alliance War. So luckily I was just running half suicides for this, but here I get in the corner, and right here I am going to hit him for, again, this was a total input issue. I'm going to hit him, and he threw a light ending combo, which gave him a bar of power, so now I can't go back to quaking him. So I'm literally just standing here parrying him over and over again. I have no clue what to do. I didn't have a plan. He had a massive fury there at the beginning. He finally throws the special one. And then right here, once again, I'm going to let off of my heavy attack. And I had to reset my phone after this. This was literally the scariest war fight I've ever had, and I had a perfect Quake fight right before. I have a couple perfect Quake fights afterwards. This one, I don't know if my phone was like overheated or I don't know what the deal was, but after resetting the game it ended up being fine. So what should have been about a minute long fight turned into a 2-minute fiasco, but it's over now. And so I went and took a short break before going into this Nick Fury fight on node 23. This is pretty common placement, and it makes sense because even though I do take it quite a bit, I can definitely see how it gets out of hand, and I've had it get out of hand before when I've taken it, because if those prowess start stacking up, if you let his prowess get too high and he just decides to start throwing special attacks, you know, it can really create an issue. So on Mixmaster, I always like to do medium light, go straight into a block, and then either counter heavy with heavy or let him dash back. And when he dashes back in, I can get like a parry and do another medium light. So here we go, and then he always gets really passive right after he loses his life model decoy, so that gives you a chance to go in and hit his block a little bit. Always interrupt his heavy. Here, I've lost a few spores, but it's not a huge deal. He's gonna go ahead and throw his heavy again. The fight's over. So it takes about a minute. It's not too bad. You just want to be careful and never on that node, in my opinion, never do medium light medium. I used to do medium light medium all the time, and it always, not always, but most of the time it ended poorly, where I was like just eking out a win. So medium light is the way to go for Mixmaster. Okay, in this fight I was really nervous for because of the way my last Quake fight went. This is Man-Thing on node 24, so this has EMP modification. This is actually a good placement for Man-Thing if, especially if Quake is banned, because if he throws a special attack, he puts buffs on you, so you really need like a shock immune for this fight or something. I've actually taken it this season with Omega as well. I'll post that later on. Either way, with Quake, fight's no big deal, it goes down. This fight right here, I'm going to use Quake for once again. Colossus is a pretty pain in the butt defender with this global just because of his natural armor ups that he gets from his kit, plus he can like refresh the global armor up we found out last season. So I'm just going to use Quake for it. Generally speaking, if you're not using Quake, you'd want to use like a slow champion or like a nullifier, ideally like Sorcerer Supreme, but either way, Quake is going to make this fight pretty easy. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So this next fight here, I'm gonna go ahead and fix my masteries. I was just running half suicides for that fight. I'm gonna put on the other half now and remind myself to remove dexterity after this fight. And I'm gonna use an advanced power boost for the next two fights. So this is gonna be a Mr. Fantastic. This is actually like a good spot for him. Or it can be if if you don't bring like a great counter for him. And some people might think like, oh, you should have Quaked this fight, but if you get the disorient on you, Quake stops working. So I decided to use Omega Red. Plus he has like huge physical resistance, and so he just takes a long time to Quake. So here I got the disorient on me. That's an active debuff. But luckily Omega's damage is high enough that he ends the fight pretty quickly. Gonna go ahead and remove dexterity now and go into this buffet fight. I have taken this fight quite a few times before, like with high ground, and I accidentally, or I got too comfortable with it and I left dexterity on for one of the fights, I think like 2 seasons ago, and I almost died. The fight got super out of hand. So I'm just not messing around with it anymore. Just gonna play this really slow. I like having a power start 1 for this fight. And throw the special 2. And that should be it. Yep, so about like 20-second fight. I think that when I messed up and left dexterity on for that fight, it turned into like a 1.5-minute fight, and he had a ton of high ground charges. And this is going to be my last fight of the war here. This is going to be Killmonger again on Conflictor. So I'm not really sure why people were putting Killmonger here. This was 2 wars in a row that he was on this node. But you don't generally want to put debuffs on Killmonger anyway. Right there, I have no clue what happened. But yeah, you don't usually want to put debuffs on him anyway, so I'm not sure why people were putting him here. Here, I'm just going to lock in my spores with a heavy. He's actually going to throw the special 2 this time, which is really nice. And lock them in again. I'm a little bit cornered from eating that initial heavy attack at the beginning of the fight. Lock in my spores again. He doesn't want to throw it, but it's not a big deal. So that was it for my war. We did end up winning this war as well. And I think that this was like the best start that Four Lokis had to a season since I've been here, which is like almost 2 years now. But yeah, so this fight, or this war, actually went really well. The previous war went really well. And yeah, again, I know that the season's already over at this point by the time I'm recording this, so if you guys don't have any interest in watching these, it's not a big deal. I'm just going to post all of them to make sure that I have a reference to send people if they ask me, oh, if someone comes to me from like a different battle group and says, oh, hey, I'm going to take this fight with Omega Red, do you have a video? I'll have a video to send them. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.